Hi, you're hearing the voice of your instructor who's going to walk you through just a little bit of the process of writing a cover letter. Hopefully by now you've written your resume and you might be wondering, well, what's a cover letter and how is it different? Know that we're going to explore these things in class in a little more depth. We're going to bring career services in to help us further understand the differences between the two and how each one works independently. But I wanted to provide this preliminary video discussion / lecture to give you just a brief overview of the preliminary processes necessary to write a cover letter. So let's jump right in. What even is a cover letter? Well, a cover letter really introduces you to a prospective employer. It expresses your interest in and your qualifications for a position. So there are three elements here: an introduction, an expression of interest, and a list of your qualifications. That's what a cover letter does. What does a good cover letter accomplish? Well, let's see. A good cover letter really should capture the reader's interest. In this day and age, you can quickly Google cover letter templates, find a great template that you can copy and paste, but that is not going to capture the reader's interest. We want to know, as your readers, who you are, what you bring to the table, and what kind of a person you are. The writing in a cover letter can tell us all that, because after all, we are hiring a person, not a piece of paper. A cover letter begins the process of selling yourself to the prospective employer. Sometimes employers will start reading the cover letter first, sometimes they'll jump right to your resume. But if you make it to any advanced stage of the journey, even just getting an interview, they're going to look at both. So make sure that you use both holistically and strategically together to get the job you want. And then ultimately, a cover letter demonstrates your interest and knowledge of the company. This is a chance for you to show that you've done your research, that you didn't just copy paste a cover letter template, but that you've strategically developed this one to get the job that you're trying to get. And remember, you're not really trying to even get a job at this point. You're just trying to get an interview for that job. So again, use that cover letter to accomplish that goal. Now, cover letters can vary in format, but there are some general things that really you need to ensure. At this stage of your professional journey, your cover letter should only be one typed page. It should not be double-spaced. It should be single-spaced. Really, that cover letter should also be a small-ish font, no smaller than 10, absolutely no larger than 12. And remember, there are three parts to that cover letter. Number one, why are you even sending your resume? Which, keep in mind, you're trying to get an interview for a job. So that strategic objective, that strategic purpose, all those should be clear from your cover letter and your resume. Second, you want to really explore in depth what your qualifications are and how they match the qualifications needed or preferred for this job. And then you want to conclude. So let's talk about these three parts. Before you do that, when we talk about these three parts, we want to begin each of those sections or each of those paragraphs with a clear topic sentence. Now let's jump into those parts. The introductory paragraph. How do you begin? Well, your first paragraph really should get the reader's attention, stimulate interest, be appropriate for the job you are seeking, and make your goal clear to readers. So right from the beginning, make it engaging. Unlike the resume video, I'm not going to show you examples here because while there's a really stock template for resumes and there's a stock template for the structure of cover letters, the content is all about you and you alone. What your writing style is, how you communicate, those are going to direct how you develop these. Just know that these 4 points really should be addressed. Getting the reader's attention, not in a weird or kooky way, but showing them, hey, I'm a good person who would be good at this job. You want to stimulate their interest into reading further. Sometimes employers will only read the first 2 sentences and say, ugh, this person's boring, move on. You want your cover letter to be appropriate for the job that you're seeking. Don't write in the juvenile way if you're applying to an advanced professional position, but if you're applying to be an intern at the YMCA, maybe have a little fun with it and don't use too much jargon. And make your goal clear to readers. Why do you want them to even read your cover letter? Are you hoping to get an interview? Are you hoping to land a job? Be specific about your end outcome. Then move on to the body paragraphs. At this stage of your professional journey, probably 1 to 2 body paragraphs, although it could be more. That's completely up to you. These body paragraphs highlight your strongest qualifications, but those qualifications really need to match those of the position that you are seeking, right? So think about the skill sets that we've talked about thus far. What are the skill sets that employers are really strongly looking for? Communication, critical thinking, the ability to work in small groups and teams, the ability to problem solve, familiarity with quantitative data. There's a host, and you can find them online. I especially draw your attention to the Job Outlooks report from 2015, but anywhere you find this data is probably going to be fine because those are really similar across all years that data has been collected. Highlight your strongest qualifications and strengths and match those to the qualifications of the position that you're applying for. And then demonstrate how your skills and qualities are going to benefit the employer specifically. Don't just refer tangentially to your skills and your qualifications. Talk about what they're going to look like in action. What are they going to enable you to do if you were to secure this employment offer? And then always refer to your enclosed resume for more detail. Seems like such a weird move, right? Tell them that you're including a resume? No, absolutely. Tell them you're including a resume and refer to that included resume, for more detail. Because it's going to give more detail about, especially longitudinally, the years that you've been involved professionally. Like your resume, throughout your cover letter, you're going to want to use clear and active language. Again, use those action verbs. You want to use concrete words to describe your experience and the results that experience has given for previous companies that you've worked for. You want to use present tense to talk about current activities and past tense for past job duties or accomplishments. And we really want you to be as specific as possible in your descriptions while, again, also being brief and concise. So you see there are multiple competing elements here. Let's see some examples. I organized and advertised a conference, and from that advertisement, attendance increased by 25%. See these words that are italicized and underlined: organized, advertised, increase. Look at the job description for the job you're applying for and see if you can pull some buzzwords from that ad. That can tell you some buzzwords you might be able to use throughout that cover letter. Another example, I developed menus for members of a senior center. Simple. But that says a lot about the organizational abilities and the management abilities of the person applying for this position. I designed the web page for our local food bank. There's really 2 elements going on here. Designed being a key action verb, but a web page showing the ability to navigate online resources, develop online resources, and the skill sets you have to do that. And then on behalf of a local food bank shows you're involved in the community. That matters. So that one little sentence can tell a lot about a person. Every word matters in a resume. After you've listed out your qualifications in the body paragraphs, you then move on to concluding. And in that conclusion, you really want to be clear. Here's a nice example. I look forward to the opportunity to meet with you at your earliest convenience to discuss my qualifications and learn more about your company. You can reach me at the above address, phone numbers, and email. Thank you for considering me for the position of IT technician. What does this do? Well, it concludes by asking for what they want. I want an interview. It asks for a personal interview, but it's flexible. Don't say, I want an interview on Monday at 2 p.m. That may not work with their schedule. Be flexible regarding a date and time. Give them time to actually review your resume, your cover letter. Give a reasonable space of time. Be specific about how the employer should contact you. Here you might refer to your resume, or you might, again, flesh out how they can contact you. And then always include a thank you. Thank your reader for taking time out of their busy day to even read the application materials that you're submitting. So, here's a summary. Remember, first, explain why. Why are you sending this resume? What do you want? Be clear about that. And then tell how you learned about the position or the organization. So this can especially work if you're networking. Say, oh, so-and-so at my university told me to apply for this position. Name dropping is totally fine. Or showing that you were interested and you've been watching their webpage for a position that matches your qualifications. It doesn't matter, but no matter what you do, ultimately you need to convince the reader to keep looking at your cover letter and to look at your resume. Second, focus on the elements of your background. What, up until this point, has equipped you and qualified you to get the position you're applying for? Focus on your education, your work experience, your activities. Don't just reiterate what's in your resume, but extend it, go beyond, explain more than your resume allows you to do. Keep in mind, you really only want to include information that's relevant to the position. Now, don't diminish experience. Things might be relevant in very interesting ways, but it's your duty to make that clear for this potential employer. I think cover letters are a great space to give one or two specific examples. When I hire professors here at USFSM, I want to see examples. How are you a good teacher? How are you a good researcher? How are you going to fit within this university? So talk about your attitude, your personality, your motivation, enthusiasm, communication skills. Don't say something so juvenile like, I've got a great personality. No, we don't care. I want to know specifically how you have a great personality. I tend to think I'm a pretty friendly guy, and I market that in my cover letter by saying, I'm the Chief Morale Officer at USFSM. That means I've been charged by senior administration to work with faculty and staff who are angry about something. Why? Because I'm friendly, I'm approachable. That's why they put me in that position. That's a specific example that shows things about my personality. And then really provide information that was requested in the job posting that might not be covered in your resume. When are you available to start working? Or if it's a career or a technical writing job, include a writing sample. Or if it's not a technical writing job, a writing sample can show a lot about you as well. Again, think strategically about the position you're applying for and the field you're in. And then third, indicate your desire for an interview. Again, be very clear. What are you asking for? I look forward to hearing from you. It's a simple, non-threatening way to say, hey, I'm not going anywhere and I'm going to keep bugging you until I hear from you. And then put the duty on yourself to follow up. Like this example notes. I'll call your office in the next 2 weeks to see if you require any additional information regarding my qualifications. That shows that you're actually going to do something. But here's the deal. You've said it. Now you've got to do it. Even if it's radio silent from now until 2 weeks from now, you said in that cover letter you're going to call. Make sure that you actually call. Even if it means putting yourself out there, even if it means them saying, oh, I'm sorry, we've already hired somebody else, be honest and follow through. A good solid checklist, make sure you proofread. Non-negotiable. The biggest thing that turns me off in a cover letter is errors that could have been easily caught by a proofread. Spelling errors, grammar errors, typos, silly little mistakes, but they say a lot about your attention to detail. Use the same paper as your resume. In this day and age, I anticipate you're going to submit a lot of this stuff online, but if you don't, make sure that you submit on good letter quality paper, cardstock at a bare minimum, but you're going to be required for this class to submit things on resume paper. Go out and buy some, it's good to have. Don't use designs or colors unless the color is a taupey or a cream or something like that. No green, no red, no blue, nothing crazy. Make sure you sign your name. You want to typically type your name at the bottom, but then sign it as well. Put your signature there that shows you didn't just type this up, print it out, and be on your merry way. That you actually took time to print it out, look it over, presumably, and then sign off as a kind of authority saying, hey, this is good stuff. And then make sure both the resume and your cover letter are enclosed when you're applying to a position. We're going to talk more about this in class, but if you need additional cover letter writing assistance in the meantime, visit USFSM's Career Services. You can call them here or email them here. Visit their webpage for an employment. Writing a cover letter takes time. It takes a lot of attention to detail. It can be a frustrating process, but it really is an opportunity for you to show why you're better than the hundreds of other people applying for that position. So take the time to consider it carefully, and best of luck as you start writing those cover letters.